All right, let's get cooking. Welcome to the latest edition of Chin Check Sports Radio. I'm your host, JD. I want to thank you all for taking the time out to listen to our program. And as always, we accept all suggestions, feedbacks, comments, and criticisms, which improves the quality of our program, which also improves your listening experience. Let's just jump right into it. 2019 Dallas Cowboys Week 4. I like to put a missing person reports, all points bulletin, call NCIS New Orleans, CSI New Orleans, Law and Order SVU, Law and Order on the offense of the Dallas Cowboys, because clearly they either forgot to take the plane to New Orleans or were still partying on Bourbon and Canal, if I'm saying those streets correctly, down in the Bayou, because clearly the offense did not make its way to the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And let's jump into it. There is cause for concern, a lot of cause for concern, and I'm not trying to overreact only to one loss, but we're going to go through the reasons why I think there's some serious cause for concern. And on a funny side note, I was actually supposed to be at that game. I had planned to go to the game, but plans had fallen through. So let's just say I'm glad I didn't take the trip all the way to New Orleans to spend my money to have a rough ride back. So we're going to leave it at that. Quarterback Dak Prescott, 22 of 32 passes, 223 yards. No touchdowns, one interception. Now, we want top quarterback money, but we're coming with pedestrian and mediocre stats. Don't get me wrong, I believe in paying an athlete, I believe in being pro player, but that doesn't really look good for contract negotiations. And what's even worse about those statistics, when you really look into them, he had 168 yards up until that final drive. So literally that final drive where we were trying to get a field goal or game-winning touchdown, he only had 168 yards to that point. Running back Ezekiel Elliott, 16 carries, 35 yards, one touchdown, and one fumble. Now that fumble, I'm not going to really get on Zeke about that. I think the fumble, I believe he was down, his elbow was down, but of course you really it wasn't enough on the film to overturn the call of fumble on the field, but I thought he was down, but still it goes in the stat book as one fumble. Future Hall of Famer, returning tight end Jason Witten, 4 catches for 50 yards and one fumble. So your two best players, I'll say your two most well-known players, I should say, Zeke and Jason Witten, each had a fumble in the game, and the offense only mustering 257 total yards. Amari Cooper, 5 catches for 48 yards, who was being guarded by Marshawn Lattimore. By the way, that Marshawn Lattimore, who has not played his best football the first couple of weeks, all of a sudden decides to look like Deion Sanders against Amari Cooper. Yeah, I'm going to leave it at that. As for the defensive side played well, not giving up a touchdown. I would hope that since you're playing a backup quarterback, only gave up 4 field goals. Cornerback Jadobe Awuzie had 1 interception in the first quarter. Leighton Vander Esch had 11 total tackles, 10 solo. And it's funny with Vander Esch and Jalen Smith, these guys, they match up very well with an Alvin Kamara of the New Orleans Saints, This game got me so discombobulated, And I think they match up well because they have the speed to run lateral. They have the speed to run down plays, much like in the game last season at Dallas when the Cowboys won the game. They definitely match up well with an Alvin Kamara, so that's definitely a plus to have the both of them. But my player of the game, and I try to put a picture up of a player every single week, is defensive end Robert Quinn, who is back from his second game from a 2-game suspension, had 2 official sacks, as well as a bunch of quarterback pressure. So I thought Robert Quinn played the best of everybody today, and definitely, to me, if there was a game ball to be given, he is getting the Chin Check Radio game ball. So that's why you see his picture on your screen now. Definitely a lot of cause for concern going forward, and here's why. I didn't see any deep passes from Dak Prescott. I don't know what in the world were they doing. Everything I saw was short check downs, or as Shannon Sharp says, dinking and dacking. I know he's going to have a field day with it tomorrow on Undisputed. But I didn't see any deep passes really until that last drive when he had no choice but to go deep. And That's where I'm concerned, because this is the first real defense that you have played this season, and the best that you can muster up is 10 points. Another thing I noticed even the first couple of games was that the offense used to sleepwalk through the first half and finally come alive after halftime, after making adjustments, which is what they did again today. They only scored 3 points in the first quarter, 0 points in the second quarter, and then came back their opening drive in the third quarter and scored the game's only touchdown. That's always concerning, because you can get away with that against teams that aren't that good. And you saw it kind of comes back to bite you again. So going forward, playing teams like the Green Bay Packers, the Philadelphia Eagles, the New England Patriots on the schedule, the Chicago Bears, the offense is going to have to start waking up by the opening kickoff, not by halftime. So that's something that they're definitely going to have to right the ship and rectify as soon as possible, because going into next week's game, they're going to be playing Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers, and Dallas, who are fresh off a loss, playing the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, Aaron Rodgers has had the Cowboys number the last 2 times they played. In 2016, in the divisional playoff game that I actually was in Dallas for that game, as well as the following season in 2017, 2 straight wins against the Dallas Cowboys. Now, the Dallas Cowboys did beat the Green Bay Packers in 2016 during Dak and Zeke's rookie year in Lambeau Field, and turned around and lost to that same team a few months later in the playoffs. So they definitely need to work on some things to play Aaron Rodgers, and for some reason they just don't match up well against Aaron Rodgers. I didn't even say the Green Bay Packers. I said Aaron Rodgers. So they're definitely going to have to do something, because they can run the risk of losing 2 straight games and they'll be 3-2. So they need to kind of get over this loss quickly and start preparing. To add, I guess, injury to insult, left tackle Tyron Smith on Dak Prescott's on the lone sack of the game, or the Saints' lone sack of the game. Left tackle Tyron Smith was rolled up on, and I saw him having to limp off the field, be carried off the field, and eventually he was carted off the field. So you know when they bring out the cart, it's not good news. Reading some of the post-game comments, it said that Jerry Jones stated that he suffered a high ankle sprain. I'm going to hope that's as bad as it can get, because it looked worse than a high ankle sprain when they showed it on the replay footage. Now, recent history tells us that when Tyron Smith does not play and he's not in the lineup, that offensive line gets burned as much times as a man who decides to sleep with the hooker without any protection. It gets ugly over there. They give up sacks. They can't run block. It's just not a good deal when Tyron Smith is not playing. He is definitely, I would say, one can make an argument, Travis Frederick. Who's more important, Travis Frederick or Tyron Smith? I'm asking to say Tyron Smith, because that's protecting the quarterback's blind side. So I hope Cameron Fleming can do a serviceable job. And I'm not trying to insult Cameron Fleming, but to go from Tyron Smith to Cameron Fleming, that's kind of a little bit of drop in star power and production and quality of player. So I hope that Cameron Fleming can be serviceable. And if we lose Tyron Smith for any period of time, which I think we will, and the question is, even when he comes back, how productive can he be, being on one bad leg or one injured leg, going up against, obviously you put your best pass rushers against your left tackle. So there's definitely some cause for concern going forward. Again, this is not just overreaction to just one loss and everything is over with. But on the offensive end, they did absolutely nothing, because they had a putrid effort on offense. And defensively, yeah, but you're playing a backup quarterback, but we'll give credit where credit is due. But Tyron Smith going down only adds injury to the loss and the insult. So the Dallas Cowboys, week 4, they're going to have some serious work to do. They got to right the ship. They're going to have to get over this loss and start getting ready for the Green Bay Packers. So this is Chin Check Radio. Until the next time.